Brian can be a bit extravagant. Anyway, mine will be very brief, and that is the job of an editor, to make everything brief, concise, and to the point. I've been asked to give what we call the inside take. And basically it is maybe give an idea of the perception from this side of the room. Just recently you went through some harrowing times, and I think everybody was rightly disgusted by the actions of the Nairobi County government in dumping some garbage outside your offices. But along the way, the narratives started changing. We saw the reaction from the governor of Mombasa. The Council of Governors weighed in. Some senators weighed in. And the conversation shifted, not from Nairobi County government's primitive behavior to Kenya Power itself, and what some called its bullying, intimidation, heartless ways. And that is not just a perception of the county governments. I think by and large, it is a perception held by very many citizens. The CEO rightly pointed out some historical issues around Kenya Power's image. The thing is, have those perceptions changed? Over the years, Kenya Power has earned itself, and rightfully so, a very negative reputation. Unbridled corruption, inefficiencies, insensitivity to customers. All those things. Have things changed for the better? We saw that very good presentation on the steps you take before cutting off power. The personal phone calls, messages, visits to the consumers, and so on and so forth. But I get the feeling that only applies to big consumers with big debts. If I don't pay my power, I don't think anybody will call me. And my bill is not very large. I have a small household. I doubt anybody will call me. I will just get a call from home telling me the power has been cut. But now, first of all, it will not be clear whether the power has been cut or whether it is another power failure. Because again, power failures have become endemic. I grew up in the time of Red Kilowatt. A power failure used to be national news. Today, what is news is going for a week without a breakdown. That is where the news is, because it is extremely rare that you can spend 1 week without experiencing 1 or 2 breakdowns, sometimes lasting the whole day. That is the norm now. And even as you declare big profits, 9 billion in the 6 months to December 2024, is that coming at the cost of neglecting some of your responsibilities? Are your offices well resourced to do what they must do to keep the power flowing? Do we hear issues of a pole which has fallen, and the fellows within that jurisdiction cannot come to repair or replace because they have no car or because they have no fuel, or because some vital spare parts are not available. These are realities that we must be faced and that we must be able to answer. Because how will we advance as a country if we do not have reliable, affordable power supply? That if I want to open like a small biashara, I will also have to think investing in a diesel generator if I want 24 hours uninterrupted power. These are questions that we cannot run away from. Today we are hearing that there are plans to enhance power supply by engaging more IPPs. But ask the average person, they will tell you that IPPs are the hallmark of corruption where Kenya Power is involved. Absolutely opaque agreements were signed. We are still subject to them. And a close look will tell you that a lot of those IPPs, people with an interest in the power sector, managers at Kenya Power in those days, let me not talk about today, ministers in charge of power had direct interest in those corporations. And that might explain the opacity and even the charges which may not reflect what you might call the market realities. Before we engage more IPPs, can we have clarity on the existing ones? If it can be found that there was corruption involved and conflict of interest involved, why can some of those agreements be cancelled? Because I am sure every agreement has a clause that where there is corruption established, if our courts cannot do it, maybe the courts in London can do it. We have two fellows who are under warrant of arrest. One is a former MD of Kenya Power. One is a former Minister for Energy. But they are very comfortable here. Nobody can touch them, because the system somehow works in favor of the corrupt. I don't know whether Kenya Power has the guts to take all those old agreements and review them. And where they establish that there is something wrong, I am sure the law provides for ways in which they can be cancelled. We'd like to have more clarity on that turnaround. I think the last 10 years, Kenya Power has been on the verge of insolvency. Well, even if not insolvency, but it has been making losses, some serious losses. And we really want to understand better. Some of us are not very literate in accounts and such things, but we would want to understand how that turnaround was achieved within such a very short time. On the issue of well leaves and what Nairobi County is claiming and what others will surely follow suit, obviously if you lose this one, then when it comes to public utilities and the land or the whatever else they may be used which belongs to the public, then there is the issue of billing systems. You know, we are always told pay first and ask questions later. But anytime I look at my bill, and I'm not alone, I almost cry. because nearly half of what I've paid is not going towards the cost of, towards the purchase of electricity. It is going to so many other things, some of which I may not quite understand. Now, we appreciate that things like taxation and so on, exchange rates, are not exclusively the preserve of Kenya Power. But the fact is that for members of the public, the only engagement when it comes to purchase of electricity is Kenya Power. They don't deal with KRA, they don't deal with KenGen, they don't deal with various IPPs. The only supplier of power they know, and they don't care about the finer details, is Kenya Power. What can you do to educate the public better on how these dynamics work? And what can you do to settle that historically bad and negative image? It will not come from declaring profits of 9 billion. I think it will come from providing quality, seamless service, and also understanding the plight of the ordinary electricity consumer, that he too may need a break when unable to pay his bills on time, that he too may need a proper explanation when he